as our application grows, we probably don't want to specify all of our routes individually. So what we're going to do in this video is use an ngFor and an array to essentially dynamically construct our navigation. So let's jump into our app component. And what we'll do is create nav, and it's just going to be an array of objects. Now, each object will contain a descriptor for what the navigation should look like. So what we're going to do is create a property called link. So that's going to be /. We're going to then give it a name, such as home. So this will be the text that is displayed. And we'll also use this exact property true. Now what we can do is copy this and paste it below. And obviously, if we want to create our oops, we can then change this to 404. We might not want an exact match on this one, so we can just say false. So how do we dynamically create this construct? So first, what we might want to do is actually create a nice little interface so we can actually type check against this. So we'll do interface nav, and that is going to be an object. It's going to have a link property of a string. It's going to have a name property of a string, and it's also going to have an exact property, which is going to be of type Boolean. So we have an interface which basically describes our navigation. So what we'll do is we'll say that the type is a nav array. So you can see how TypeScript is now enforcing this. So if we quickly make this a string, you can see that our type checking is helping us out here. So now that we have a static array, what we can do is essentially remove some of this logic. So what we're going to do is remove the a tag. Now we're going to use an ngFor here. So we'll bump this on the next line. So you're probably used to this by now. So we can do let, and we'll call it item of nav. So item will be each individual link. Now this is where we want to pass each item's link into, such as /oops or just a /. Now it's not as simple as doing something like this. So the router link directive actually allows us to use property binding. So we can actually wrap it in these braces. So item.link will now be evaluated against the expression. We don't need to property bind against this. However, we could optionally use different classes if we want to. And instead of defaulting everything here to true, we can do item.exact because we've specified that on this property here. And then finally, we need to implement the name. So all we need to do inside of here is just simple interpolation. So we'll do item.name, we'll save it out, and we'll go to the browser and check out our dynamic navigation. So you can see here we have our dynamic navigation. If we inspect element here, you can see that we have this ngReflect for of. So we know that these elements are being dynamically generated. And this works nicely when you want to create larger navigation structures, and you'll see it come into play momentarily when we create the routes for our passengers application, which we've been building throughout this course, and we'll hook it up with this application and these routes.